So chaps invited Dan, and I've been following you I've known of you for a year or 2 years, if I'm honest with you,
Yeah,
because I know you could, the Sober Storyteller.
yeah, that's right.
Obviously, I'll do the whole taggy stuff, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just how do I say this in a really nothing on you. It's just I love hearing stories of men how they've reformed, rebuilt, fixed themselves, whatever else.
yeah,
And I'm always cautious about people who have like stopped drinking. How am I going to get myself out of this one? The reason being is because they make it their whole identity, and it's more of like, you need to stop doing it because I've done it. And
yeah,
I get it, and I get it. I absolutely get it. I get the passion, and I don't mean that however that sounded. But you've kind of found that balance of it works for you, but you
yeah.
don't preach it.
No, I don't preach it. I think I preach that you. Well, I don't. I try not to preach at all.
Yeah,
But
I don't think you do preach.
but I think I want to offer that because certainly when I was growing up, the culture was getting wasted.
Yeah,
That was the 90s for me, and
it was
and then
fun,
the
though, wasn't
2000s.
it?
It was great, yeah. And there were. I was talking to someone else, like a really good friend of mine who's also in recovery, and we were talking like who I've known from
Yeah,
years ago, and like talking about the glory days, but also that, and because I do a lot of work in schools, like with high school kids, and
Oh,
my
okay.
messages never, because I remember I grew up with. Do you remember the Leah Betts video?
yeah. Well, I was living in Chelsea at the time. Yeah,
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 I grew up with that. We were shown that video, and it was like, do not do drugs, and that did not have that impact on me at all.
no, absolutely. Yeah,
So my message is very much like, you don't have to,
yeah,
and to respect them
yeah.
because they can chew you up.
Well, do you find I don't want to go on a tangent already, but do you find, I think younger people are actually way more sensible than we were.
Yeah, they are.
Borderline boring.
Yeah. There's definitely a movement towards eating well,
Yep.
being fit, and not using and
Yeah,
drinking.
no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Which I absolutely applaud. I really,
Yeah.
really do. No, so we can go backwards. Do you mind just telling us a bit about your story then?
Yeah, so my story, I mean, I grew up in Ipswich, and my kind of early memories, I was an only child.
Yeah,
My dad sort of drank quite heavily, but he was he was like a head teacher and a writer, like a professional writer. And so he was very, very busy all the time.
yeah,
And I just grew up with this kind of like fear, generally, as a little kid. And no one would have ever looked at me and thought he's scared, but there's this kind of fear of, I don't know, not being quite enough and not fitting into my own skin, and just generally just like uneasy in my own.
So is that just comparing yourself to your dad then? Or?
I don't know. I've never really thought. My dad died a couple of months ago, and I've never really thought of it quite like that before,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. But I certainly grew up with this kind of uneasiness, and used to fixate on other stuff to like being an Ipswich Town fan. So I'd put my mental well-being in whether Ipswich won or not at the weekend, and that's a shaky grounds for.
So you're on a high at the minute then?
Yeah, I'm on a high at the minute, and
For a couple of months, yeah.
but in the late 80s, that was not that. There wasn't very many highs, and then as soon as alcohol came along, it was just like it felt like it was the answer.
Yeah,
And then drugs came as well, and they just felt like they made. I mean, it was like medicine
yeah.
for everything. All my kind of uneasiness went away, all the fear went away, and I thought, I can do this long term.
Yeah.
But at the time, I didn't think that was a bad thing. I just thought that was what you did.
Well, to be honest, I don't think that mentality's changed at all.
No,
I think it does with younger people.
Yeah.
I still think there's a good couple of generations at the very least behind us what are still of enjoy life, go to the pub, that ritual.
Yeah, and it felt to me like whenever I can remember my first drink. Like I was at a barbecue. I can remember what road I was on. I was on Cliff Lane in Ipswich, and being given this glass.
It's very precise, man.
Yeah, 85 Cliff
Well, okay,
Lane. Like I can remember where I was and being given this glass of cider. I was probably 12 or 13. And I can remember like the dewdrops on the side, all that kind of stuff, which should have been could have been alarm bells at the time. And I remember drinking it and just thinking, this is incredible. And obviously when you're 12 or 13, there's not much options to go out and do that regularly. But I was always looking forward to, and thinking about whose older brother we could convince to
stand outside the shops with a tenner.
Yeah. And it just my sort of drinking from there just became and I was good at it as well.
Yeah.
Like I could drink a lot, and people would be like, "Oh, how are you? You know, how have you drank that much?"
That's weird you say that, because I still drink from time to time. I very rarely get drunk now. I like a couple of pints. I know my limits.
Yeah.
And I think maybe it's because I don't want to do all God squad, but because I'm a Christian, I try to stick to the rules of just, for me and my grounding of just what am I trying to say? Know my limits.
Yeah.
And I don't like ever not being in control.
Yeah.
Do you get me? So for me, that kind of grounds me a little bit.
I think the thing that sets apart someone who's got like a real alcohol problem, and for me it wasn't just alcohol, there's all sorts of things involved, but with alcohol, I could never do that. I could never be like, right, I'm just going to have a pint. Like as soon as I was in the pub, whatever time of day it was, I was like, I'm in now. Yeah. And I'm here for the duration until something stops me.
I bet he's awarded for it as well, because everyone knows that everyone's got that mate who can drink everyone under the table. Yeah. And it's weird because the mentality of just like, as long as it's not a blatant, oh, he's a raging alky, excuse my terminology. Yeah, yeah. If everyone knows him, like, oh, you won't outdrink him, he'll put you under the table. Yeah. He's actually a hero.
Well, it's a badge, isn't it?
No, it is a badge. Yeah.
It's a total badge. And for years it was a badge. And when I was drinking, so I went to study in Canterbury. Yeah. And I qualified to be
That's very posh.
I know. Well, the thing is, I went to Brighton first.
Right, okay.
And lasted about a year and a half in Brighton. Yeah. And the thing is with Brighton is like in Ipswich, there was a hip hop night once a month. And in Brighton, there's like 5 a week. And I could never say no. If anyone said, let's go out, I've got a few of these, we'll have a load of that, I'd be out and I'd be there. And I just couldn't, I was like 18 and I just couldn't survive in Brighton. It just sort of chewed me up. So I went to Canterbury, which, as you say, is posh and quiet. And yeah, very nice. And sort of did my teacher training. And I think, like, I came back to Ipswich and all my mates had either cleaned up their act, got themselves sorted, settled down, or they were just doing the same as they had been. So I ended up with a job teaching, but still with one foot in each world. Yeah. One of which was messy. Yeah. And the other of which was this kind of professional setting where I was looked up to as the teacher.
Did you enjoy it though?
It's weird. It was fine as long as the two worlds stayed separate. Well, okay. And then you have these moments like, staff dues and stuff. And by that point I was getting to this point where I was sort of, I guess, in my late 20s, starting to really lose control of it. Yeah. And I controlled it for years. Well, I say I controlled it. Yeah. But it was kind of.
Would you mates agree?
Well, some would, some wouldn't. It depends. Yeah. And sometimes I'll be fine, and other times people will be like, "What are you what are you doing? Like you're behaving terribly." And eventually you just can't maintain that.
No, you can't. Yeah, right. It's literally burning the candle at both ends, isn't it?
Yeah, it is literally. And the thing is with alcoholism, I think, is it progresses. And I was talking with Ezra from Suffolk Mine the other day, and he's like, "Well, the thing is, you've got the kind of reward, and you've got the dopamine it creates, and that your dopamine, you get a little bit less every time you do it." Yeah. Which explains it perfectly, doesn't it?
No, it does, yeah. Because I remember when I used to smoke, I remember there was a Alan Carr guy who goes around smoking actually killed him.
I know.
Funny, well, it wasn't the smoke; it was the passive smoking. Yeah. And he said, I'm going to misquote it. You're the storyteller, so bail me out. But he said in this video was like, when you have your first cigarette, like it increases your dopamine or something like really, really high. But the trouble is, so you keep chasing it, and I guess it's the same as Coke, which I've been there, and everything else between. But every time you have another one, it doesn't quite get to that first. Yeah, I've misquoted that really badly. No,
it's exactly that though, isn't it? And you can feel it when you've experienced that. Yeah, like especially with, say with pills. Yeah, I remember you take your first one, and it's like the most, like it hits you like a ton of bricks, doesn't it? And it's just amazing.
Turbos,
Mitsubishis, man. Yeah. And then within, like, I did that for, I can't remember how long, like a period of time I was doing a lot of that. And by the end, you're taking like loads of them. Yeah. Like.
It's when you start double dropping and stuff.
Double dropping, and then, a couple of hours later, it's, should we have another one? And you can't maintain that. However, and I think with that, because alcohol's messy. You see people, drunk people are messy, right? Yeah. And by the time you need that much to make you normal, you're getting messier and messier and messier, and it just chews up your whole life.
It's
and
just
the lives
chasing that dopamine thing, isn't it? Yeah.
And alcohol just ends up chewing up your life and the lives of everyone around you.
And you're rewarded for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I can't get, because I've been in a situation, like I was saying, off air, so to speak. It sounds well professional, doesn't it?
It does.
But when I remember people sitting me down, I was like, Dan, you've been bang on coke for way too long now. Like, you need to calm it down.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, okay, well, let's go and talk about down the pub. Now, it's just like, so one, you get rewarded. It's like with booze, you just get rewarded. You turn into the hero. And I've bought loads and loads of shots for people, those heroes. So I'm part of the problem. I'm well aware of that.
Yeah.
Even the whole thing of when I've been into the pubs before, someone says, oh, I don't want to buy it. So, what's wrong with you? It's a day off tomorrow.
Yeah. I was terrible for that.
And it's so weird. And even now, I should know better. It's rare, but I still slip up every now and again. It's like there's some sort of social norm about it.
I think one element of the sober storyteller stuff, where I do like preach a little bit, is to people who do that.
Yeah.
That thing, because I can remember when we were still kids. Well, I say kids, we were like 22, 23, and I was the first mate of mine who I remember going to rehab. Yeah. And he came out, and it wasn't for alcohol, and we met in the Woolpack, and I can remember saying, "Oh yeah, but it's not crack or heroin. Like, you know, have a pint. Come on, you know." And I was that guy. He's like fresh out of rehab.
Yeah.
And that.
Oh, he was pushing it on you.
No, I was pushing it on him.
Oh, okay, I got you.
You know, but because this is way before I even considered myself to have a problem.
Yeah.
And that's not okay.
Yeah.
You know,
no, it's not. Yeah. And it's really weird. And even though I know that, I have, not for a while, I think the last time was the Cult Bar. So that's how long ago was that? That's been closed for ages now.
For years, yeah.
And I generally feel bad about that, because it was like, no. And then he goes, to be honest, I've had a couple of years off of drinking. He still wasn't ready to accept that he had a bit of a problem, but he was like, that's why I'm just having a couple of years off of the drinking and whatever else. So with you then, like, what was like your tipping point? Like, what flipped you back into sorting your shiz out?
Well, so I mean, the thing is, I had loads of moments where it was like, there's a voice inside that you know the voice inside that says, shouldn't be doing that, don't do that, don't do it. Oh, you're doing it. You know, and you spent my whole life just shutting that voice down. And I was like 37, so this is 2018, and I couldn't work anymore. I'd got myself signed off with depression, but it was really obvious that I was just, you know, I was drinking like bottles of vodka every day, like serious drinking, and then drinking other stuff and taking codeine and just in a mess. And I had this morning where my partner went out, and I went out to the shop, and I was like physically dependent, like shakes, everything. Bought a bottle, got back into bed, and I thought, well, at least I'll be safe in bed with this bottle. Obviously, by this point, I've gone far into the alcoholic world of my own personal hell, and I drank some, and nothing happened. It didn't take away the, like, when you're in that level of drinking, like, you wake up with just like terror. It's awful. And it didn't work. And I remember catching a glimpse of myself in the mirror, and my face was swollen, I was red. And it's like, you're gonna die of this, or you're gonna have to get yourself well.
It sounds like you was dying.
I was dying. I was definitely dying. I mean, the other thing with drinking is you have these things like that you say, when this happens, I'll stop. So mine was, you know, when I lose a relationship, when I lose a job, when I get arrested, and I'd kind of smashed through all of those boundaries. And the last one was, well, I'm not yellow yet. That's where my level of denial. Like when I get jaundice, I'll stop drinking then when my liver's failing. And you just get to this point, and I couldn't not drink, but I also couldn't drink anymore. And I ended up in rehab in 2018, in a residential rehab away from my kids. Rehab's a mad place, and like we spoke a bit about this before off air, where you have those moments, you think you're the only one when you're doing that. And like, so just a glimpse into what my drinking was like. I would meet my dad in Cafe Nero's down the road. And you know, you sit upstairs, you have to go downstairs to get the key for the
Oh yeah,
with the ruler on it.
Yeah.
And I would go up there with my dad, and I would say,
It was on the meter stick, wasn't
it's still on.
I remember that. Yeah.
And I would say, I'm just going down to the toilet to get the key. This is in the middle of the afternoon, on Saturday afternoon or whatever. And then I would run down the stairs, dash across to the corner shop opposite Sainsbury's, get a half bottle of vodka, drink it by the bag shop that used to be in the alleyway, neck it in 2 or 3 goes, and then go and sit back down with my dad.
Do you reckon he knew?
Yeah, because when you drink that quickly, I don't know if you've ever slammed alcohol, it takes a little while.
Yeah.
So 10 minutes later, he'd be like, "What are you doing?
Yeah.
How have you ended up?" And when I ended up in rehab, and I go to AA now, and you say that to people, and you say it the first time you say it out loud, you think no one else is doing this, and of course there's loads of people doing that, and that moment where you sit in in my case it was a rehab centre. It was the day England played Panama in the World Cup in 2018, so I watched that with my sons, and then got dropped off at this rehab thinking, I don't even know what I thought it was going to be like, but all of a sudden I was able to just talk openly, and there's people just kind of nodding.
Well, okay.
And that's a big moment, isn't it? When you realise it's not just you.
When you're not the only one.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was saying off air again. Keep saying that now.
Yeah.
It's like when people come to the camps, what we fund and whatever else. It's like they come there really, really sheepish. And I remember there was one guy, he stood there, I'll be careful with words because in case he watched, but I remember when he turned up, I thought he was in psychosis. Yeah. Just the way he was absolutely terrified. And it was and everyone was like, oh, should we do something? I was like, no, let him be. Just let him be. So we went from that to 2 or 3 days later, literally like a brand new man, because he knew that actually wasn't going to be judged, and other people have actually listened. He generally wasn't the only one, so I do get it.
It's
absolutely.
Powerful.
Yeah.
But that tipping off point, really, the first step after I went to the doctor, my family doctor, and I said I want to kill myself, and he looked at me. My mum was there. And he said, "Are you drinking?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm drinking." And I told him what I was drinking, which at the time was just enough to put anyone in hospital. Yeah. And I was doing that every day. It's that moment, isn't it, when you're like, right, so I'm ruining my life. I'm ruining the lives of everyone who cares about me to varying degrees, depending on how much, how close they are. And I said at the start, I'm an only child. So my mum's life and my dad's life defined by my behaviour, really. And you go, it's like no one's coming to save, like we said earlier, no one is coming to save you. Yeah. You have to take action to get yourself out of that situation.
Accountability is everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And in AA, you work through the steps, which I won't go into, but there's this line.
I've been to an AA meeting.
Have you?
Not for me. Funny, it was the one in Ipswich.
Yeah.
Obviously, I was going to say, obviously you know where that is. I don't mean how that sounded.
No,
I went there. I went there with one of my friends, and I was expecting to tell me to I wouldn't be able to go in. Actually, I kind of liked it.
Yeah, they're great.
If I'm honest with you, they welcomed me in there. I think they knew that I was supporting my mate at the time, and then they were like, "You can't come to any more." Yeah. But it was really, really good.
They're interesting, and there's this thing I remember. This kind of So you're suffering with an illness for a start. And I remember thinking, well,
it is an illness. It is an illness. Well, look at the data; it is an illness.
Yeah. And so there's a get out of jail card kind of thing. And then I remember my sponsor saying to me, "Yeah, you're ill, but now you've got a solution. Yeah. And now you're able to take accountability for all the mayhem you've caused." And that's just so true, isn't it? Because I've suffered with depression. I've suffered with all sorts of mental quirks, and actually I genuinely believe that if you take the right steps and you find the right people and you
find your tribe,
and you find people who've been where you are and aren't anymore, you can take responsibility for your own, and you can get yourself out of any situation that you're in. I genuinely believe that.
I massively, I'm from the care system. And I've had the whole thing, I should be dead, I should be in prison. I've had all of that kind of stuff. But I generally think a lot of the time, the people who end up doing very, very well out of horrible situations, I'm not on about successful as in houses and businesses, whatever. They've just got themselves out of whatever horrible space they're in. They're doing well. Yeah. I'm on about success as in just being happy. rather than rather than what social media says. But I generally think the difference between those and the dead people. Sorry for being harsh, but that's
the truth,
it is the truth.
Yeah.
The only difference is one or two people in that person's life has given them a chance.
Yeah.
Held them accountable, just done something, seen through the pisshead, the alky or the druggie, and me with a coke or whatever. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
They've seen something and just helped them out. One or two people.
Yeah.
And I generally think that's a massive difference.
Yeah, and I think the thing is with the helping them out as well is that doesn't, it's not, it doesn't feel nice when you're in it, does it?
Yeah.
When you've got someone who's holding you accountable, saying, look, you need to sort yourself out, that's hard to hear. But that is, you know, that I go, because my dad was quite a big drinker, so I've been to a few Al-Anon meetings as well, which is the other fellowship that supports like family and friends of
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah. And it's a really good thing. And their whole thing is, if you've got someone who's on it, to set really clear boundaries with them in order to make them see. Yeah. And I think that's a really powerful thing. Like, you know, that moment when you're like, right, I've got to do this myself. You know, I've got to find the answer.
Yeah, up to a point, no one's going to hold your hand.
Yeah.
Isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Even though that kind of contradicts what I've just said, but it's just...
But there's a way of holding your hand, which is... Because I found that, like, that kind of thing of being enabled, like, any time I would go to people and say, oh, you know, can I borrow a tenner for, you know, a phone top-up card or whatever, remember them? Yeah. Or whatever it was, and they'd be like, oh, yeah. And it's like, that, to a degree, that enabled me to keep doing what I was doing. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Whereas when people sort of say, right, no, you're not giving you any more money, you know, all that kind of thing.
That's the thing, it's just boundaries, isn't it?
Yeah.
For the other person, and it's a hard one. And that's something what I've had to learn, especially now I'm pretty involved, obviously, in the mental health space, is personal boundaries sometimes. So I'll help anybody until they start taking the piss.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, no, absolutely not. And I've had people like, you're being a bit harsh. I'm like, no, there's the boundaries. I've said I'll help you. Like, I've helped people get interviews and stuff like that. But if they're not turning up to an interview, there's that boundary cross.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the same with sort of sponsorship in AA. I have people phone me up and I know they haven't done any of the things. They haven't been to a meeting. They haven't been doing reading the bits from the book that they're meant to be reading. And they say, oh, I'm going to drink. Yeah. And then you sort of say, well, go on then. Because that's what's going to happen.
You've made your mind up.
I'm kind of showing you what you can do. Yeah. And you're not doing it. That's where you're going to end up. Because that's where you've always ended up. That's where we do end up.
Yeah, absolutely. So we just fast forward then. So how have you got to like this happy place? Because I know you do the chapter 82, the school stuff. And, and again, and I absolutely applaud you. Even now, we were talking about addiction, whatever else. You're not one of the preachy things. And again, I don't want to offend people who are that way inclined. They've got an amazing way of doing it. There's Michael, Happy the Hooch. Have you seen him on there? The most hilarious guy. He sometimes can be a bit very preachy, and I'd say that to him. He's been on videos. Yeah, happy without the hooch. That's it. But the way he preaches it is just he takes the piss. Yeah. But there are them other ones where of like, you must never ever drink again. I was like, it doesn't work.
You can't tell addicts what to do.
No,
if you tell them, that's the whole thing about AA. Is everything is suggested. Yeah. Like I would suggest that. Yeah. You know, and like if you go into you went somewhere and say, right, you're not drinking anymore, I'd be like, watch me.
Well, you rebel, innit?
Yeah, we'll see.
All humans rebel. That's the thing.
No, but to answer your question, so I got sober in AA, and the thing is with AA, like, you know that this kind of Suffolk Mind human given stuff about needs being met. Yeah. And AA meets loads of needs. And it gives you that connection we talked about. You know, people who've been where you've been, and gives you this kind of sense of meaning and purpose that you're now helping the next poor sod who walks through the door to sort themselves out. But outside of AA, when I was teaching, my class always used to make me tell stories. Yeah. Like old ancient stories that I'd kind of do my own thing with.
Was it ye old English as well? Or?
No, they're more like 1500-year-old sort of Sufi stories that are set in Persia in the year 600 that I then manipulate and bring into the modern day, and that's just kind of that's my art, that's my creative, that's my art. And so I made a job out of that, which is going into schools, and I run projects in various community centres with people of all ages. So I've done stuff with, I had these, they're all over 80 group at the Emmaus, which is also which is also where I went to rehab. So that used to be the recovery hub. And
that's the Royal Oak, wasn't it?
The Royal Oak, yeah. When I turned up to rehab, and it was the Oak, where I've been and watched bands in there over the years. Aside from, so that's my work and my creative side. But really, the thing that is so important to me now is just being the best version of myself that I can be. So every day, waking up, like I've been to the gym this morning. I'll probably run in this later. I do park run. I run half marathons, and I really push myself to be the absolute best version of myself. Like every Sunday morning, I'm up at 5:30 in the gym, and that's always been a non-negotiable ever since I got sober, because it's
routine as well, isn't it?
It's routine, but it's also like making amends to my kids. I put my life in danger. How irresponsible is that? I've got these little people who depend on me, and I'm there drinking myself to death. So with what I eat completely clean. I work out as hard as I can. I try and be the best runner that I can be, and to try and be the best person in every aspect of every day. And if I do that, I feel amazing.
Do you think it's also showing yourself what you're capable of as well? Because I think that's something we're not. Everything now in society, maybe I'm being judgmental. I don't really look at news feeds anymore because it's just noise. Most of it everything is about push yourself, be successful, blah blah blah. But it's also actually, well, what is successful? Because if you're so happy just being a dad, working part-time, whatever, doing a paper round, I don't know. Do you get what I mean? If you're only just a bin men on not really earning money, but if you're just happy with that, that's success. Just in my personal opinion. And it's like we're ignoring that now. Everything's got to be their version of success, and that's what drives me nuts.
I know what you mean. I mean, with my being resilient, being able to cope with life as it comes, is like such a gift, because I could never do that at any point in my life till I stopped drinking. But I think also there's this thing, like I'm quite into David Goggins, right? So his this idea that if you do the right things, you can achieve like incredible results. And I started doing parkrun years ago. My auntie got me to go to it, and I remember the first time I did 5K in under 30 minutes, and I was buzzing. And I'm 45 in a couple of days, and I can run 5K in 18 minutes. And it's like, but nobody has helped me do that. It's not lucky. It's because I've
tested yourself.
And that, having those things that give you that meaning and purpose to then go and prove it that you've done it to yourself. That's things that nobody can take away from you. That's so powerful.
But that's what I mean. I think me went on a tangent on that. I think even in schools, I think that's what we need to go back a bit, showing people what they're capable of. It's the same as I've said so many times. It feels like it gets boring. That's why I like doing my winter camps up mountains and stuff like that, where sometimes snow and it's minus whatever. Is there a bit of masculinity of like the photo in the snow and sleeping on the floor? Absolutely, of course. I'm not going to lie, but it's also knowing that I know how to survive. In like those conditions.
100%.
Is there a bit of masculinity, self-hero? Probably, but it's more knowing that I can do that.
And it doesn't come easy.
No,
like when you do things that are uncomfortable and are really difficult, you get. Your life, I believe, your life force grows stronger. And so 2 months ago, my dad died, and I was with him in the hospital when he died. I held his hand. He took his last breath. It was like mad moment. And no part of me wanted to drink. I was still going to AA meetings, like dipping out of the hospital.
Because you still go to them now.
I was dipping out of the hospital to go to AA meetings. I was going to the gym before I got to the hospital in the morning, and then he died, and it didn't hit me like a wave of self-pity, like it would have done. Do you know what I mean? I would have made it all about me, whereas actually I was there for him. I coped with it. I didn't drink, and that, to me, that's what recovery is. It's,
absolutely.
I didn't need to rely on anything else.
Yeah. But I guess it's also, like we were saying off area, and I keep saying that, it's just like sometimes you got to make hard decisions about not putting yourself in those situations in the first place.
Yeah.
And that, obviously, I don't know, can you go into pubs and stuff like that?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I mean, loads of my storytelling stuff is in pubs or little festivals, like
Right,
with,
okay.
and the other storytellers,
so I can't go to festivals and
they
stuff like that.
drink.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, well, I've been to folk festivals before.
Yeah, Cambridge Folk Festival.
Yeah,
I did.
yeah. And there's one at Shrewsbury as well.
Yeah,
And I absolutely love them, but wow, they can
Yeah.
drink. Wow.
Well, I was with all these. I mean, one of the things about storytelling is I'm like the young one.
Yeah.
So in that world, there's all these old people, and I was carrying their drink around, carrying their hip flasks around into the arena for them, and handing out their hip flasks so they could sit in the VIP bit and watch Robert Plant with their brandy. And that's fine. I don't have any problem with that at all.
Yeah.
I would have done.
It's a good place to be in, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, so just before we draw to a close, there's that little cue. So if someone's kind of like watching it, not necessarily got a problem. If someone's watching this and they're thinking, "Oh, fucking hell, that's me," what would you tell? I know it's a hard one to answer because you don't know who it is. But what would you tell them to do?
Well, one of the things people ask me, they say, "Do you think I've got a problem with alcohol?"
Yeah.
And
I think if you have to ask that question.
Yeah, well, that's it. My answer is people who don't have a problem with alcohol don't spend any time whatsoever questioning whether they've got a problem with alcohol or not.
Yep.
And that you can live sober, you can live an amazing life without drinking, but you've got to do it yourself. Yeah, you've got to do it yourself. I mean, I'm no person to say, like, we don't, like, that's one of the things about AA is there's no professionals, is there? It's just a load of alcoholics helping other alcoholics.
Well, the thing is, I'm a massive fan of peer-to-peer.
Yeah,
Peer-to-peer is where,
powerful.
As long as there's some sort of accountability from the top, and the AA, I know there is. I'm a massive supporter of peer-to-peer. I think it just works.
Yeah, and I think, you know, because people say to me, "I want to stop drinking," I said, "Well, come to AA then," and they're like, "Oh, that sounds a bit severe." And it's like, well, don't then. But that's my answer to giving up alcohol. Is get yourself to AA, and once you do that, life will open up in front of you with all sorts of opportunities. But if that's something you're questioning, come and, because we don't diagnose anyone in AA, you diagnose yourself. You know, you're shown this passage, and it's like, do you identify with it? Yeah,
because that's the thing, though, and I do believe if you have to ask a question, there's a reason you're asking it.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's pretty much it.
If I'd answered honestly, probably from about the age of 22 onwards, if someone said, "Do you think you have a problem with alcohol?" my answer would have been, "No, of course I don't." But really deep down, like, I knew for years. Yeah.
Wow. We're done.